and gentlemen, welcome to the Ben Morey Show! Here come your hosts, Ben and Morey!
Hey guys, how about Dr. Soul's
Dr.
band?
Soul!
Thank you.
Holy funk band!
Not bad.
Not bad.
How's everybody doing? Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. He's one of our guests tonight.
He's pumped.
Guys, we got a good show tonight. Have not been, this is what, number 41? Have not had a
41.
show for 2 weeks. So,
So we're a little rusty.
yeah, so it's not going to be good. How's everyone's Thanksgiving? It's good? Okay, sounds good. No, I thought Thanksgiving, I'll just speak personally, I thought it was fine. There was a lot of trepidation. People thought, ooh, yikes, there's a lot going on. It's going to be worse than usual this year. But I didn't think it was that bad. I had a nice time.
That's good.
The cool side of my family was at Thanksgiving this year. Usually
That's
we have my dad's side. It's not like they give us like moccasins for presents. But then we had my mom's side, the cool side, and they're the ones that give us lottery tickets. So
Much cooler.
much cooler. And at one point, my Uncle Frank, he told a joke, and I didn't hear it. And I said, "Hey, what was that joke?" And my mom and my aunt were there, and they're like, "No, don't repeat the joke, Uncle Frank. It's disgusting." And I said, "No, tell me the joke." And he goes, and they're like, "Fine, but you know, don't tell anyone this joke." So I'm going to tell it to you guys real quick. So my Uncle Frank goes, these two guys were sitting down, and one guy looks at the other guy, and he says, "You know, my girlfriend said I was a pedophile." And the guy goes, Really? Well, what did you say back to her? And the guy goes, "Well, I said that's an awfully big word for a 9-year-old to know." So
That is a classic Uncle
thank you,
joke.
Uncle Frank.
Thanks for the lottery ticket.
Yeah. So again, that's the lottery ticket side of the family.
Well, anyway, guys, we got a great show tonight. We've got Ben and Max Goldberg. Give it up for them.
Yeah. Very exciting.
And we've got on the front row here, head trauma surgeon at Vanderbilt, Dr. Rick Miller, everybody.
Dr. Miller. Now, some people said to us this week, they said, "Hey, what's the deal? You guys have Dr. Miller on the show. He's a trauma surgeon."
That's not funny.
That's not funny.
Yeah.
This is a comedy show. And we said, that's a good point. So we called up Dr. Miller, and we said, "Hey, Doc, you're a trauma surgeon. You're not funny. Why are you coming on our show?" Yeah.
And he said, "Some of your audience members have come to see me after the show."
Yeah, and we said, fair point. But no, he said, "Look, I understand. Why don't you guys, as sort of a token of my appreciation, why don't you guys come down to the hospital at some point, and I'll show you around. I'll give you a little tour."
Yeah, it was like a field trip.
A little field trip. And we said, fine, just to kind of get to know him a little better.
Right.
And just the other day, he calls us, and it's Dr. Miller on the other line, and he says, "Hey, I bagged a big one." And we said, "That's not appropriate." But he said, "Come meet me in the parking lot in 20 minutes. I've got brats."
And so we tailgated.
Yeah.
I had a couple cigarettes, and then the patient arrived. And I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now. This kid was in one hell of a unicycle accident.
Yeah.
Bicycles, ladies and gentlemen. Bicycles. 2 wheels, okay? Bicycles or bye-bye is what we learned here. And so he took us into the operating room, which was really an educational experience. We learned a lot in there.
Yeah.
Successful field trip. First thing we learned, when in doubt in the OR, just stand like this.
Yeah.
Doctors walk in like this, they walk out like this. People were giving us funny looks, and then we just went. And they said, "Those guys belong."
Stand.
Next thing we learned, OR not the place to make friends.
No.
They don't care that you went to MBA or you're a third-generation Nashvilleian, and that especially applies to the patient.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
could not care less.
Yeah.
And last thing we learned is that everything in there has to be sterile.
Yeah.
And so they didn't allow our producer Davis Hunt in.
Yeah, he couldn't come in. disgusting.
have to
But it
wait
didn't
outside.
stop there. I mean, it was very fun. We learned where the kidney was. Dr. Miller pointed out where the kidney was, which in this case was on the floor. And we also learned sort of like the going rates and street names for morphine. One of which is Auntie. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah. And I also took some notes per Dr. Miller's request. Took some medical notes on the patient. Let's see. Age, late 20s. Blood type, red. And everywhere. Organ donor, yes, but kind of involuntarily.
Yeah.
And sex, probably not in this condition.
No. And it was also fun. He actually allowed us at a couple points to literally shadow him. He would say, see what I'm doing here. And at one point he said to us, Ben Morey is a trauma surgeon. It's very important for me to make split-second decisions. All right, it's a matter of life or death. So, and he turned to Morey and he said, for instance, Morey, breakfast or lunch?
Dinner.
And left or right? Down. Okay. And we've got an abdominal obstruction here. Should we do a bypass or do we want to do a blood transfusion?
And I said, I don't know, Dr. Miller. Focus on the patient.
Yep. So,
Please.
it was really nice of him. We're a lot more comfortable with him now.
So we're excited to have him on our show. We're also excited for the Goldberg Brothers.
Yeah.
These guys. Ben's excited.
Pinewood Social.
These guys These guys own every restaurant from 12th South to Green Hills, and it's a brothers in business.
They are. Look, guys, they're successful brothers. I mean, let's list them off.
Yeah, they're not the. Oh, you're talking about the restaurants.
Yeah, the restaurants. Pinewood Social, LaSalle Merchants, the Patterson House, Catbird Seat, LaSalle again, if you want to go back. I mean,
they got the McDonald's on the corner.
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
Yeah. Location. But they're very successful brothers, and they're not the only successful brothers.
Right, there are a lot of successful brothers in business. The Nelson brothers, we had them on our show. They're distillery owners in town.
Yep.
Great guys. You've got the Kennedys. Okay, you ever been in a plane? How about the Wright brothers?
Very successful, the Wright
And
brothers.
you're starting to ask yourself, are there any wrong brothers? Should I have come out tonight? And the answer is yes. There are some brothers in history that are not as successful.
That's right.
For example, everybody knows the great American astronaut Buzz Aldrin. Well, his brother, bit of a drinker, went by Buzzed Aldrin.
Yeah. Not a good guy. You also, of course, these guys were losers, the Doobie Brothers. I mean, great music, but total scum.
Everybody knows the rocker Neil Young. Well, his brother got in with the wrong crowd, died young.
That's right.
I didn't like that one.
Yeah. A lot of people sometimes confuse. They think George Washington was brothers with George Washington Carver. Not the case. However, George Washington Carver was a brother. All right, so.
And finally, Jesus. Jesus didn't have a brother, but if he did, I think he would have been a little overshadowed.
That's right.
You know, his birthday is January 12th. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, man. Came to me out of nowhere, I promise. And hey, did it stop at brothers? No, there are some famous sisters too. Everybody's seen Parent Trap.
Right.
And this is a great example because one of these girls went on to be a successful Hollywood actress, and the other one once got 5 DUIs in 1 month.
Yeah. We all know Aunt Jemima. She is the face of syrup. Very successful.
The face of syrup.
But no one knows her sister, Delilah Jemima, who choked on a pancake.
And finally, we have Sister Ruth and Sister Mary. Now, these might look like two God-loving women, but Sister Mary stayed up past curfew last night.
That's right.
And so we'll be back with the real brothers, the Goldberg Brothers, everybody.
All right,
Thank you.
Get a beer.
So our first guests are restaurateurs in town and owners of Strategic Hospitality. Give it up for Ben and Max Goldberg. I think girls were laughing that Ben got booted to the stool. It makes him feel tall.
You guys are just more virile than me, I think. You're, whatever. So, hey, I was saying you guys are more men than I am. It's good to have you.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Now, which one are you?
I'm Max.
You're Max.
I'm Ben.
And Ben, you're the older one.
I am.
And Max refers to you as Benjamin, so should we call you Benjamin or Ben?
We'll stick with Benjamin in case my mom watches.
Okay. Well, this is not a real talk show, so you cannot.
Unless she's here, she's not watching.
No, there's. People have heard us say this, but every first question we get is, so what channel is it on? We're like, it is not on a channel. What is wrong with you? This is a fake show.
Yeah, barely.
Occasionally on YouTube.
So how are y'all doing tonight?
Great.
Doing
Excited
well.
to be here.
Very good. I have a lot to ask you. Yeah, I've got so many questions. What is a typical day like for you? I mean, you all see each other all the time.
We do.
Okay. 10 to 12 hours a day.
Yes.
Okay. What did you guys do today? Were you holding meetings with investors? Are you planning out the newest menu for your newest restaurant?
No, we have a party at Pinewood tonight, so I was there setting up for that. It was
really?
a thrilling day today.
Oh, gotcha. Who's the party for?
Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
Ah, wow.
So let's just clear up what you guys do. You are not chefs. You are not culinary geniuses. You are entrepreneurs who have just so happened to make some of the. Let's list off the restaurants. I tried to earlier, but what are the restaurants that Strategic Hospitality is responsible for? Because everyone here has been to them. They've had a good time at them, and you're probably responsible for their good time.
And their bad times, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but we have Paradise Park, Ariel, Bastion, the Catbird Seat, the Patterson House, the Bandbox, the Country Club, Merchants, LaSalle, and then Henrietta Red opening up later this year.
Gotcha. So other than Henrietta Red, what's the newest of those? Bastion?
Bastion.
Bastion.
Yep. Great nachos, absolutely.
Great nachos.
Girls love that place.
You were saying that when you opened...
I don't know how to respond to that. That's great. My wife is here. Watch it, all right? That's great. Yeah.
When you opened Patterson House, it was hard. People didn't think it was going to work. You maybe got in some scuffles with each other. Was it an immediate success, or did it take time?
They all take time.
They all take time?
They all take time. Yeah, definitely not immediate.
What's the stat? 90% of restaurants fail, or something like that?
Yeah,
9
that's
out
what
of
they
10.
say.
Yep.
Well, see, so that's what I was wondering
Yeah.
leading up to this, because I thought, oh, good God, like these guys, you have all these restaurants and they're all successful, and that goes against what we've all heard, which is 90% of restaurants fail. And I thought the mob has to be involved. There's no way.
They are. We
that
just can't
this-
talk about it.
that this is-
Ben's
But-
mind goes straight to the mob.
yeah, and just that classic.
It's the
national
Jewish
mob.
mafia. We control the bagel market. It's
But
great.
you guys,
yeah.
you have the special touch. People clearly love your places. What is it? It can't be I mean, you guys aren't food guys, so it's not like, hey, we got the special sauce. What is it?
I think most of it is the city itself. It's uber supportive. So, I mean, I think that the stat nationally is probably 90%. It's probably way less than that here. People in Nashville want to give you a chance. They want you to succeed. They want you to do well. And so if you mess up once, like we often do, they'll give us a second chance to try and do better.
We obsess over the guest experience. I mean, I think that the city itself has been a huge reason why we've been able to grow and have some success. But for Benjamin and I, we really look at the experience that the guest has as our 100% focus. And so almost every decision we make is based on that. And to a detrimental point to ourselves, we constantly think, what can we do today to be a better restaurant? What can we do to have dream-weaving moments with folks? What can we do to really be part of people's experiences and treat, the environment and the food as almost like a vehicle for conversation and memories? And it's a different kind of mindset, but we obsess over the guest experience over almost anything else.
So let's take Patterson House, for example. When you guys were creating Patterson House, what what nitty-gritty details were you just digging into that were like, oh, we gotta have bowling, you know? Or was that what it was like?
Are you not a bowling fan?
That's,
What was that?
That's Pinewood Social.
Pinewood Social.
Yeah.
And
No, but I want an answer. You're not a bowling fan?
Ben went bowling once in Patterson House and got kicked out.
With the
That
ice
was
sphere.
you.
and
That was
that's it.
great.
He's
Yeah.
been once and that's all.
Broke a lady's leg.
yeah.
Yeah.
Killed a mixologist. But let's take the one that I was meant to be referring to.
Pinewood Social.
Pinewood Social. Just give us an example. I want to get into your brain. How did you do it?
How do we open Pinewood Social?
Yeah.
Or why bowling?
Yeah.
Was there a question there? I'm so confused as to what's going on.
I'm confused too. I think what he means is what was the guest experience that you were trying to embody there? Because
Got
it
it.
is confusing. You got a coffee shop, you got a bar, you got a restaurant, you got a bowling alley.
Thank you for the translation.
Yep.
I didn't. So,
I'm hungry.
so Benjamin and I found ourselves working out of a lot of coffee shops. We enjoy living, breathing organisms of kind of creativity, and coffee shops can provide that. And the third space is really where we found ourselves working. We had an office. We just enjoyed being in those environments. And we found ourselves getting kicked off the Wi-Fi a lot. And so we just wanted to create a place where we'd want to go, which has always been kind of our trajectory. And Pinewood Social was no different. We thought, where can we create this incredible third space? And Benjamin read a book called The Great Good Place, which talked about it, and I'll let him touch more on that. But Pinewood was really us wanting to create that third space. And then we thought, well, if we're going to do this third space, we want to have the best food we can. So we work with Josh Habiger from the Catbird Seat and now Bastion to help curate our food program. And we use what we learned at the Patterson House to create great drinks. And we thought, well, we love coffee. If we're going to do coffee, we want to work with our neighbors at Crema. And so we worked with them. And then Benjamin and I went to New York for a consulting trip, and we were working out of a hotel lobby. And we met at 6:30 in the morning, had a coffee, then breakfast. Then after breakfast, we had another coffee, then lunch. And fast forward to the end of the day, we've been there for 16 hours, spent a couple $100, and had this incredibly productive day. And we're like, man, we wish we had this in Nashville. And then as brothers, we don't get away a lot. And so we ordered a bottle of bourbon, and we just started drinking and talking. And the next morning, we woke up, spooning each other, covered in Post-it notes, and it said like
Whoa.
bowling alley, bocce, and I was like, what the hell have we created? And that was really.
And last night was amazing.
Yeah. It doesn't feel weird. It doesn't feel weird.
It's not weird. Benjamin and I do it all the time. And so that was the creation.
Yeah.
One romantic night in New York City.
Yeah. You made kind of your baby in a sense with Pinewood Social. So all right. So I'm interested then. I mean, I can guess what you were talking about when you made the guest experience at Patterson House or Catbird Seat. How about Paradise Park? What's the guest experience there? I mean, it's
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's a different kind of guest.
It's different kind of guest.
You get a pitcher and a couple tube
when
steaks.
it opened, and you kind of want a loud, obnoxious beer joint, and if you're going to do it, you're going to go all in on it. So,
Right.
AstroTurf floor, wood panel walls, and neons.
The cool thing about
The
Paradise,
car
though,
inside.
and Paradise, Benjamin opened before he came back, and so it was really his brainchild that he created, but a true testament to him, in my opinion, being a visionary in a lot of ways. But Paradise was the first place downtown that did a hand-pattied burger. The bread is cooked fresh daily. It's organic produce. It's, really great beer selection, but everything is made from scratch, and they never played those games. They never cheated where if there was a convention in town, your burger goes from 6 ounces to 5 ounces.
Right.
It was just really a space made that would cater to tourists, celebrate tourists, but really also celebrate locals. And I think that it gave it a fighting chance because when Paradise opened, everyone was like, oh, Ben, you're opening on the wrong side of the street. Nobody's going to cross the street. And Benjamin looked at the street and was like, it's a street. Like now it's like this crazy game of Frogger downtown.
Yeah, Benjamin, it was the wrong side of the street. You didn't listen to me, so it's a bad joke.
And so that how long has that been in operation?
9.5 years.
So 9.5 years ago, that side of Broadway was.
Nothing. It was Rippies and us down there,
Wow.
basically, and merchants.
Well, all right. So can we a couple doors down, merchants? You guys are native Nashvilleians, correct?
We are.
And this was important. Your grandparents, I think, went on dates there.
They did.
Is that right? So was that the inspiration to?
Max also took a prom date there.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Just had to throw it out.
My in-laws are here too. Come on. Why are you blowing up my spot right now?
Man, it must have been an important prom date if you get all flustered about it.
No, it really wasn't. But just doesn't need to bring it up, you know?
You're blushing, Maxwell.
It's the lighting. It's not me. Don't worry.
And so what was her name?
Benjamin. It was good.
That's what I thought.
She's beautiful. Now, do you guys ever want to? Do you ever envision yourselves? How long do you guys want to be in business? Just like, are you thinking?
Hopefully a little bit longer.
Okay, all right.
Almost ready to retire.
Do you think you're always going to be in the culinary realm, or do you want to expand to, I don't know, other realms?
There are a lot of other realms.
Investment banking?
There are, Max and I have no business plan whatsoever. So our path is sort of where we talk about taking it. So I have no idea what we're going to do a year from now or 3 years from now or 5 years from now, but we have a blast doing what we're doing right now. So
I mean, we're Nashville kids, right? We grew up here, and one of the numbers we're more proud of than anything else in our businesses is job creation. And we love creating jobs in a city that we grew up in that's been really great to us. And out of all the numbers we obsess over, the fact we've created over 500 jobs in Nashville is a number we're more proud of than anything else. And so I think that for us, we love restaurants. We love being part of people's moments and their experiences. And we're humbled to be around these crazy artists that create some of the stuff that I just think is world class. But we love business. We love using both sides of our brain. And so we're certainly not limiting ourselves, but our focus right now is definitely on the restaurant business.
So you probably always have a new restaurant on the horizon, and that's kind of the next car that you're chasing. Have you had one recently that's failed? I mean, you said you've had some.
We fail every day. I mean, we make mistakes every day, and we fail every day. We're very lucky.
You've never closed a restaurant.
Benjamin sold 2 restaurants before I got in the picture, but we've fortunately
23.
never closed one. But you know, we fail every day, and I think it's how we fail and how we recover that really defines who we are as operators. But yeah, I mean, we make hundreds of mistakes every day.
And the 2 that you sold were Bar 23
and City Hall.
and City Hall, which were 2 of the first arrivals in the Gulch.
Yeah, they were.
That is pretty wild. And you said it was when the Gulch was the most affordable place in town.
Yeah, it was definitely not one of the more expensive pieces of property in the city. There were it was when they were starting it, so there were no real roads and dirt roads and putting power utilities underground, and you couldn't really get to the front door sometimes. But
Benjamin's too humble to say this, so I'm going to jump in and steal it for a second. I came back to visit Benjamin from college, and the Gulch truly didn't even have streetlights. And I remember coming back, visiting my brother, who was working 18-hour days, standing in the street with an umbrella and a flashlight, guiding people in to try to get them to the bar.
where were you going? Because you were not 21.
I was getting that's your issue at that time, not mine. But it was really cool to see what Bar 23, I think, did for the city of Nashville, because it was the first piece of national, global press I knew of for the city. And Condé Nast Traveler named it one of the top 30 nightlife spots in the world, and the fact that there was this incredible spotlight on Nashville from a global perspective was really cool. And now, you know, it's funny, the Gulch is just one of the more expensive pieces of real estate in the city, but back then, it's what Benjamin could afford.
And another place that's getting a lot of good press, I want to talk about Catbird Seat for a second. Who's been to Catbird Seat? Oh, yeah. Okay, Dr. Miller.
You'll get your moment on stage.
But I asked because this is, like, I've been to Paradise Park, I've been to Patterson House, I've been to all of them. But I haven't been to Catbird Seat because I can't afford it. Yeah. And so I want, and so the, bad. So I want to know. I mean, take me in there for a second. There are people that rumor has it, people that fly down there it's the one restaurant in Nashville that people come from out of town simply to dine at. It's a lovely experience. What's it like?
It is not the only place people fly to eat. They will fly in and eat many restaurants in Nashville. This is it's the chance to look into a really talented chef's brain. Serves you basically whatever he wants to cook for you that night. There's no menu. You walk in, you have no idea what you're eating, and you put your trust in their hands.
And you kind of cut out the middleman, right? No waiters. It's chef to customer.
Exactly right. Yeah. So no servers. Chef talks to the guest directly, explains what they're eating. They can ask questions. There's a banter back and forth if they want to, and it's just a unique experience to be able to talk directly to the person that cooked the food and was there probably since, they work in that restaurant. It's crazy. They work 5.5, 6.5 days a week, and they get there about 9:30 in the morning and leave about 2:30 in the morning.
Wow. What's cool about the Catbird Seat is
nonstop.
it's become this kind of fun launching pad in a way for chefs where we had no idea what we were doing. The space above that was a hair salon went out of business, and Benjamin and I had the opportunity to take the space over. And we wanted to do something with Josh Habiger, who was just this wickedly talented guy. And we opened up the Catbird Seat. We're literally like, we're painting the walls. And if you go in there,
Don't look at the paint.
we're not good painters. But if you look at the walls, they're all white. And people are like, man, you guys were so smart to just have these like stark walls so all the attention was drawn on the food. And I looked at Benjamin and was like, we didn't have any money. Like, this is great. Absolutely.
Yes, that's
we're
what we were
geniuses.
thinking, yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's great. But it's, the Catbird Seat has the perception of being an expensive restaurant. But if you think about what it is, the amount of time that goes into every single bite that you have, as compared to other cities, it is a steal. And so what's really fun is people are now looking at Nashville, a city that we grew up in, not as a flyover city anymore, but as a city that people want an excuse to come to or to move to. And there's an incredible food and drink movement that's happening in Nashville that we're grateful and humble to be a part of. I think Catbird's fortunate to be on the list. And so people come in and they experience the Catbird Seat, and I think what we do there is as special as anything else in the world.
The reality, though, up at the Catbird Seat is that when we're working up there, I'm bussing tables, filling waters, and doing dishes. That is their place to do whatever they want to do from a food and beverage standpoint. So we're not back there tasting food, making sure the menu looks right. We
They
are
feed us
just
scraps.
giving them. It's the only restaurant you go to where there's literally no food except for the guests.
Yeah. I went in there one night, and our chef Trevor at the time put together this like uni dish with ice, and he goes, Max, I want you to try this dish. And it was like a little scrap of something he was working on. And I tasted it, and I was like, he goes, well, what do you think of this? And I was like, man, it's weird, but like I taste the color orange. And he was like, that's what I was going for. And I was like, you're on another level, man. Like, this is just like, how did you do that?
$80. So
Worth every penny.
it's just a perception. It's a perception. So if
It's the
you're
best
hiring,
$80 you'll spend. It's
if
great.
you're hiring a chef at the Catbird Seat, you have to hire one that's kind of a people person, which not all chefs are. Is that right?
That is very true.
I worked in a couple restaurants, and I remember the chefs being cool guys, great chefs, and they were like on parole. I'd like, drive them to the bus stop.
See, now I'm going to be very careful on what I say.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so you got some questionable chefs.
We're about done here. I wanted to say one more thing. Your whole lives haven't, strategic hospitality's been around for about a decade now, 9.5 years.
Yeah.
But you had lives before this. Maxwell, you worked in.
New York.
Sorry, you're Max. You're Benjamin.
Maxwell's great.
I
Yeah, I
just
like
sure
Maxwell.
first names
What's
are.
pathetic is we spend so much time together. If you call me Benjamin, I usually respond to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a
So-
point I hope I never get to.
But you had a life before you we're not so different, you and I. You haven't dabbled in comedy per se, but you had a funny story from a past
did.
life in New York. Will you share that?
I'm so happy you brought this up. I worked in New York City for a couple years before moving back, and I worked in this office, and there was a guy who worked in the office who was an associate or an intern, I can't remember. Nice guy, but was always inviting us to go to a stand-up comedy routine. He was like, guys that do stand-up. And he wasn't particularly funny, so I was like, you know what? Maybe he's got this like alter ego. We should go check it out. So I rally some of the folks from the office to go and watch him do stand-up at an open mic night. There's like 5 of us there from the office. We're all excited. And this guy gets up and just bashes the office staff, which made no sense to anyone in the audience. And then we're there and we're like, hey man, screw you. Like, are you kidding me? And was just making fun of, like, we had this thing, Bagel Monday. And the woman who created Bagel Monday, who was super proud of Bagel Monday, sitting next to me. And he's like, yes, we do this stupid thing, Bagel Monday. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing right now? It was horrible. Yeah.
Poor Bagel Monday girl.
No joke, he got fired 2 weeks later.
Really?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's terrible.
But he did better than the lady who came on after.
Oh, yeah. Sorry for this young woman, but she got up there, was silent for a minute, said, I'm sorry, threw up, and then got off stage. Yeah. Yeah.
Ben and I have had some pretty rough shows up here, but
Haven't threw up yet.
Yeah.
That was the pinnacle. Yeah.
Henrietta Red
Red, yep.
comes in February.
January.
February,
February.
somewhere around there.
Okay. All right.
In
To
Germantown.
Germantown.
Yep.
Yeah.
What you described the vibe to me real quick. Give it a pitch to the audience here.
What's fun about Henrietta Red is we're opening it with a dynamic woman team who we've known since first grade. Opening sous chef from Pinewood Social. She spent a lot of time with Thomas Keller beforehand, so this is really her baby that we get to be a part of. It's just a great neighborhood restaurant that hopefully will serve just ridiculously good food in a warm, welcome environment with a great cocktail and wine program, and should be a great addition to Germantown.
Good food, casual environment, wood burning oven, lighter fare. She cooks pretty delicious food with a nice little bar program, just like a lot of other restaurants. But
No
hopefully this
bowling.
one will be there.
Great elevator pitch, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, the Goldbergs, everybody. Give it up.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. That was great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that was great.
All right, guys. Second and final guest tonight is the chief trauma surgeon at Vanderbilt Hospital, and he has said to us many a time, "Stop calling me Dr. Payne. I don't like it." Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Dr. Rick Miller.
How are you, Dr. Miller?
Rick.
Can I call you Rick?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
When my dad was pissed at me, he called me Richard, but all
Right.
my friends call me Rick. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you enjoy Catbird Seat?
I tell you, that was one of the premier restaurants that started in Nashville a few years ago, and our whole family's gone a multitude
Really?
of times. We love it.
How far in advance do you have to get reservations?
Like months.
Yeah.
And then you have to wait at midnight and click on that button right on time, otherwise you don't get the reservation.
Yeah. Wow.
It's tough to get in there.
So you're a trauma surgeon. We were trying to confirm that you were coming on the show yesterday, and I think you were on call, probably
Right.
in surgery.
Yeah.
And we kept giving you crap. We were like, "Where is he?"
Just be responsible.
I think at that point you were saving a life. So that's
And
awesome.
Ben was passing gas.
Yeah.
So
For
what,
me.
Yeah. What is your? Want to talk a lot about your work. What is your schedule like? First of all?
Well, first of all, we're one of the largest trauma centers in the country. We see over 4,500 critically injured patients a year, and I've got 11 partners. So we do have a reasonable lifestyle. We take
You can split it up.
one of us is there 24 hours a day. You got to be when you have 15 or 20 sick patients that come in within a 24-hour period. But it's not a bad lifestyle. I take about once every 2 months, I take a full week of night call where we're there from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m., but you get the next day off and you get to sleep and you get used to it over time. But it's a team. It's not just one person. I just think of myself as the conductor of a smooth-running symphony. It's amazing. The type of the people that I work with is incredible.
Now let me ask this question because
Yes, sir.
I don't. Given what you just said, I still don't. It's hard for me to grasp what you do, and I don't mean to ask this question. It's not facetious. I'm being serious. So help me here.
Okay.
What you do, how is it in any way similar? And again, I'm serious. To the game operation.
I think
No, that's a serious
You
question.
didn't prep me for that
the
question.
sad part is I think that's a serious question.
Yeah. I'm just saying, let's start from there and we'll build from there. All right.
Well, it does take a long time to be a surgeon. It requires.
It takes no time whatsoever to be good at operations.
Right.
So.
That's the difference.
Okay. All right.
So did when you were in medical school, did you know you wanted to be in intense environments, emergency room?
Yes, my dad told me that. Does anyone remember the show Rescue 911? Maybe these folks in the front.
He didn't mean that.
They're younger than they look.
Yeah.
But my dad used to tell me that I was glued to the television on all of these sensational shows that were trying to rescue people and save people. So it's sort of in my blood. I've always
At an early
loved to do that. It's a gift, I think, that I have the ability to save lives every day. What job can you say that you go to work every day and you're going to save a life? It's amazing.
I mean, let me ask. So, like, literally, did you save a life today or this week?
Yes, Several. Not just me. That's the one thing, is that it requires a huge team to do this. One person alone can't do it, but we really have a smooth running machine that does things incredibly efficiently. If you arrive alive at Vanderbilt's Trauma Center, you have a 95% chance of survival. Okay.
Woo! I work in communications. One email at a time, building a better society. You specialize in abdominal injuries.
So really my true love is taking care of people that are in hemorrhagic shock, that are bleeding to death. And in that group of patients, a lot of people are bleeding within their abdominal cavity. The most common organ that's injured is the spleen. Do you know where the spleen is located?
Right here.
Oh, I was just going to ask, where's the spleen?
I know how you know it. I pledge allegiance to my spleen.
And it's a very fragile organ, and it bleeds like a stink. And our goal is to identify where patients are bleeding and stop the bleeding. That's a trauma surgeon's number one goal. But in doing that, you have to open the abdominal cavity, and a lot of times patients develop the defects in their abdominal wall, and they develop hernias where the intestines are protruding out. And over the years, because I've taken care of so many of these patients, I've become savvy on trying to figure out ways to reconstruct the abdomen and get these things closed. So that is one of my specialties, is abdominal wall reconstruction. But my true love, and the thing that I pride myself is taking care of critically injured patients that come flying over your homes in Life Flight's one of 6 helicopters that are strategically located in the area around 65,000 square miles around Nashville. We're the only level 1 trauma center for that whole area.
Wow.
And so the goal is called the golden hour, within the first hour or two, to identify where someone's bleeding and stop that bleeding. And that's what we're really good at.
Let me ask you, is there a common accident that people end up in your hands for?
So 75% of our patients are car wrecks, motor vehicle collisions. We have huge interstate network around here, and people drive fast, and a lot of people have errors in judgment. A lot of it is preventable, but a lot are accidents, and you know, when you're going 55 miles an hour and hit each other, that's a huge impact, and it causes some major damage to your body.
And most of the time, is it life flights, or are people ever being ambulanced?
50-50. So if you're in Davidson-Williamson County, you're gonna come by ambulance. It's faster. But anything on the outskirts of that will be either Life Flight, or there's another 8 helicopter companies, private companies around this area that come to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's helipad is the busiest helipad in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the busiest helipad. More helicopters land on that pad than anywhere else in the country.
Wow. That's maybe an effect of just that it's a really great facility and one of the only in the area.
It's the only level 1 in the entire area. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you? This has been heavy. Do you have any? Well, I want to put a face to I guess a face. I don't know these people.
Yeah.
But can you tell the story? Maybe?
Sure.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously, a lot of my stories are heart-wrenching, but I do have one story. My daughter's in the front here. She's heard this probably 20 times, Alyssa. We're all in the medical business. My wife's a cardiac critical care nurse. My other daughter's going to nursing school up in Baltimore, and Alyssa's a program coordinator over at St. Thomas in the general surgery program. So we have some interesting dinner conversations. But I think one of the
Did you give them options, or did they...
I let them do what they want.
Yeah. It just so happens she works right under me. She wanted to do it. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So
sorry.
No, you're fine. So John Morris was my mentor, and he's the one that started the trauma center here 30 odd years ago. And when I was first in training, he encouraged me to fly with the Life Flight people to really see what they do out there, because these people are really the heroes. on identifying injuries and trying to keep them alive before they come to the trauma center. And so he wanted me to fly with them. And so every time Life Flight had a really challenging case, they would call me, and I would go fly with them. And it was a once beautiful summer day, blue skies, and this elderly gentleman was fishing on a lake, and he fell out of his boat. And he didn't know how to swim. And he tried to grab onto the boat, and the propeller chopped him in the groin area.
The penis.
No, testicle.
Okay.
And groin, yeah. And that area's got a lot of blood vessels, and he was.
Not for me. Sorry, I'll stop it. You keep going. All right.
You
Sorry.
can add
no,
that.
no, no, no,
The
no.
maturity level is at the floor.
Yeah, we're very low.
Go ahead.
So, the flight nurses, Jane Herring and Lisa Curry, called me and said, you need to come help us with this patient. And so it was about a 20-minute flight from Vanderbilt, and we flew into this very small hospital in the middle of nowhere, like a 50-bed hospital. And this poor guy was bleeding out there, and we controlled his bleeding. We put this special mass trousers on him to staunch the bleeding, and he was awake and alert through this whole thing. And and he was talking to us. We transfused him, stopped the bleeding, and loaded him on the helicopter and took off. And about 5 minutes into the flight, we hear this big boom, and the entire cockpit fills with smoke. And I'm not savvy on the flying, and I thought that was the end of my life. I thought we were done. And the Vietnam vet pilot comes on and says, "Number 1 engine down, prepare for emergency landing." And I looked at Jane and said, "What does that mean?" And I looked down, and it was trees everywhere. There was just trees. And he says, "Find an emergency landing area." And I'm going, "Where are we going to land?" And he goes, "Right there." And up high there, it looked like this big, and it was a cow pasture. And once you lose, fortunately, it was a twin-engine helicopter. But once you lose one engine, the helicopter's coming down. So you have to find a place, because otherwise you're going to crash. And so we're coming down, and Jane, and I'm obviously very anxious, and
And the guy in the back isn't having a great time.
well, exactly. So so Jane goes down to the patient and goes, "Sir, I'm terribly sorry, but we've lost an engine, and we're going to be making emergency landing." And the patient looks up. He's a good old Southern boy, and he goes, "Well, shit, this just ain't my day."
Just lost one of his engines.
Oh boy.
And so we had no cell phones in those days, and we just had these beepers, and that's the way my wife communicated. And she was not very happy that I was flying, because Lissa's sister Stephanie was on the way, and my wife was like 8 months pregnant, and she knew something was wrong. And my beeper, 3 words were on it: "Where are you?" Because she knew something was wrong, as the helicopter is starting to crash. Yeah. And so this Vietnam vet, what you have to do is do a skid landing. So you have to put the nose up in the air, and the skids on the helicopter are designed to brake as you land on the ground as you're coming down. And he skids through the trees, and nose goes up in the air. He counts down, and we're all kumbaya holding hands, including the patient. And the helicopter, and we're shaking. It's the whole helicopter's shaking. And the guy comes down. You could hear the back skid brake, and landed on the belly, and we were all safe. And
Wow.
we went. The first thing we did was hug the helicopter pilot and tell the patient that we're going to have to wait another couple hours before we could operate on him. And he did fine. He lost 1 testicle, and we fixed everything. And that has been the only quote-unquote hard landing in Vanderbilt's history.
Wow. And you
in
survived.
32 years, and yeah, I survived. And guess what? I was grounded by my wife, Karen Miller. That was the end of my
gosh.
my flying career. But that was.
You haven't been in a helicopter since?
I snuck in a couple.
I've been on it.
And the two girls have been flying, and Stephanie thinks that she might want to be a flight nurse as well, my other daughter. So, you know,
Isn't she learned?
it's in our blood.
You know, it's funny.
Wow.
Perspective is everything, because when I was younger, my brothers and I were spying on we were like 8, and we were spying on our parents' cocktail party. And he pushed me into the vase that they brought back from Venice on their honeymoon. And it shattered everywhere. And I got this tiny little cut in my leg.
Yeah.
And we, the parent, you know, all the adults come from around the room, and they're like, "What happened?" I was like, "He pushed me," and so they had to take me to the emergency room, and I guess I was bleeding a little bit, and I just remember sitting there with the doctor, and I was like, "Please don't let me die." And it was so weird. He just started pretending to be like a WWE wrestler. He was like, "Hey, boom," and he stitched me up. So I think that's similar to what you were just talking about.
Very similar stories.
But I'll tie this all together. You're a surgeon, but when people
Right.
are conscious and you're, I mean, it's this very surreal thing to be like, wow, my guts are open.
Yes.
And you need to placate them. You need to talk to people and be like, hey, this is real life. You're not dead. In some instances, I probably wish I were maybe dead.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
you know, I've been doing this for almost 30 years, taking care of 60,000 trauma patients, and sometimes you have to depersonalize it while you're taking care of it, and step back, and afterwards think about what this patient and the whole family are going through, and it's very difficult. And it's a real thing. It's called compassion fatigue, where you're feeling empathy for the patient and their families, and it can be very hard on the health caregivers that are taking care of these people. And so we have therapy for ourselves, and you got to get away from it sometimes. And that's why I have so many partners that you only can do about a week at a time. And we see a patient die every single day. Every single day, at least one person dies. And most of the time, there's not much that we could have done for them. But it's not a perfect science. It's not like fixing a car. You know, these things are very challenging to decide what to do first, what's going to kill you first, and we do a really good job at it, but it's not a perfect science.
You must handle your stress. I mean, you must have it under control. I mean, do you ever leave the hospital one day and just, you know, you need a drink or you need to see a therapist?
Well, in my early career, I thought I was invincible, and when I was in,
I was going to say, you have good posture, and I don't know if that has anything to...
Well, I'm a triathlete. I work out my stress doing swimming and biking and running, but...
We do too.
Yeah.
In my early career, I thought I was invincible, and I thought I could do everything, and until in Greenville, I ran a trauma center in Greenville, South Carolina for 10 years, and I took care of children at that time. And when my kids were growing up, I used to see the faces of my girls on these patients, and I suppressed it. And my wife would say that I would act out in my dreams, like vivid nightmares.
Wow.
And she finally told me that, Rick, you need some therapy. And so I went to a therapist and told him what I do, and she said, oh, you're suffering from compassion fatigue. And I said, what is that? And it's basically the road to burnout. So if you don't take care of yourself and get away from it and try and take it all into perspective, it can really give you a downward path into burnout, and then you're done. Then you're done.
Wow.
So we all recognize and help each other through, you know, a really difficult job description, but we get a lot of satisfaction out of it. Most people do really well, and most people are incredibly appreciative of what we've done. And again, there's no better job. And you know, even on vacation, sometimes last summer we were at the beach. I'm sure that some of you have heard this. We were celebrating my mom's 80th birthday in a house. And,
Oh yeah, I did hear that story.
Yeah. And I'm out on the surf with my daughter Alyssa over there, and she goes, "Dad, somebody's waving their arms, screaming and yelling," and then she sees a body floating in the water, face down. And she goes, all she does is point. And I could have probably won the gold medal that day in swimming towards this patient, and my wife and my other daughter were sitting right where this guy popped up. And being a cardiac nurse, my wife Karen pulls this guy out, drains all the ocean water out of him, and starts CPR. And then I get there about 30 seconds later, and the both of us do CPR on this guy who's dead. Dilated pupils, blue, no pulse, no respirations. And we see, how long did we do CPR on her?
7-10 minutes.
7 or 10 minutes.
I was just sitting there.
We were on a remote area, and Stephanie, my other daughter, calls 911, and the paramedics and the lifeguards come, and this guy starts breathing on his own. But they load him into the truck because the ambulance couldn't get to the beach, and they intubate him, where they put a tube down his windpipe and start breathing for him. And there were 100 people surrounding us when we finished this. And we were so focused on the CPR, we didn't see all this. And then when Karen and I stood up after he left, we were just physically and emotionally exhausted. And that's when we had the margaritas. Right.
and so that's when we had the margaritas. So the guy made it.
Well, we didn't know. It was a Thursday. We were leaving the beach on Saturday. We didn't hear any news. I told Karen, I thought there's no way this guy. We thought he was totally dead. Alyssa was watching and going.
I was crying.
Yeah, it was terrible. So I got back to Nashville, and I told my research nurse the story, and she goes, "Well, you did CPR. I did mouth-to-mouth on the guy. You got to find out where he is, what he's done. You know, you need to get blood on him. He could have communicable diseases." And then I started really thinking, what have I done? You know? And so I called the chief of EMS for Fort Walton County. And I said, "My name's Dr. Rick Miller. My wife and I did CPR." "Dr. Miller, you and your wife are heroes. This guy has gone to the trauma center in Pensacola. He has a spinal cord injury, but he's alive and getting better." And we couldn't believe it that he was alive. What he had done was he was boogie boarding with his son, and the surf was really very rough. And he crashed his head onto the surf and torqued his neck onto the sandbar, and torqued his neck and had a spinal cord injury, and was awake but completely paralyzed, and took a deep breath, and then he said, until I couldn't breathe anymore, and then he passed out. And he floated 200 yards from where he was and popped up between a trauma surgeon and a critical care nurse.
Wow.
What are the chances of that
Wow.
happening?
How about that story?
And then
Okay.
so he, Karen and I just met him and his wife in New Orleans, and he's walking, and he's.
Did he buy you dinner?
He did. Right in the French Quarter. It was great, and he's a football coach and a chemistry teacher in Alberta Springs, just outside New Orleans, and doing well. And it was those are the kind of things that you never forget. And I didn't have my tools there, you know. I didn't have my knives and all those good things. And CPR really works. Really works. Really works.
Well,
Go ahead.
we're about done here. Do you have anything else you would like to say to the crowd?
I would like to say that there's no job like the one that I do. I am blessed every day to have an amazing team. I appreciate you guys inviting me to tell a few of my stories, and this is a great place to live. And I think a level 1 trauma center like Vanderbilt, you're in a good place to live.
Get there soon.
I was going to say, we normally.
The what?
Wear your seatbelt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Wear a seatbelt.
Wear your seatbelt.
Classic doctor.
Thank you.
I was going to say, yeah, we normally tell people to go check out the place where I guess
Yeah.
from it. Yeah, avoid this one.
You don't want me to be your doctor, really.
Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Dr.
I
Rick
appreciate
Miller.
it.
Dr.
Thank
Miller,
you.
everybody.
You were great.
We'll meet you back in a second.